Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special edition of Senior Compass. When we do have a great topic today that could affect so many families, we're going to be talking with a family who's experiencing the effects of dementia. My name is Jane Weilagi. I'm a volunteer with Maydan, and Maydan is a group of community members that have been together over a decade. Maydan stands for Marshall Area Dementia Awareness Network, and we have a big event coming up next week here in Marshall. It's going to be at the Red Baron Arena. In fact, I have the brochure announcing it, and there is a picture in the corner of a vibrant couple. Gosh, I know it's Butch and Margie Dahl, but how many years you been married, you guys?
52.
52. And they're going to help us kind of explain to the community, and again, coming back to that word awareness, that it's so important to reach out to others and kind of help other people on this journey. On our brochure for the Maydan group, like I said, it's been around for over a decade and maybe even before that. There's a compass. And for us, the compass is trying to guide people and help them connect with the resources they might need on the journey. With the getting a diagnosis of dementia is rather challenging sometimes. First of all, you want to rule out that it's not some other condition, but then, or something that could be changed, like if it's a medication problem or something like that. But then as we get further into the journey of it, we wonder, how do we explain to other people what's going on? And I know I was really struck last week when there was an announcement about Rosalind Carter. She is Jimmy Carter's former president's wife, that they made a press release about that she had dementia. And then with our family of honor, and again, that's why they're here today. They're on the brochure. You'll probably see their faces in town. But why was this important to you to come forward and tell us about your journey?
Well, I feel it's like a hidden factor for many people. And I, too, thought it was great that Rosella Carter came forward, the First Lady, because it happens to anybody. And be aware that it could happen to you, it could happen to your family member, and just be alert and know what to watch for. And then when you kind of see it, you just say, oh, no, that's not it, that's not it. But as things progress, you say, okay, this is it. I think we're in this. So you need to go and get it diagnosed and start forward being active. And
that word dementia, I think sometimes people get stuck on that. It's all about memory loss. And with aging, it's very normal to have little lapses, or there's just a normal aging. But then when you notice things are getting a little different, or things aren't what you expected, or the response is different, then you kind of need to investigate more.
Yes.
And your family's gone about that?
Yes, we have.
How many years ago was it? Hey, Butch, you got a smile out of you? Yeah? I'm really happy you're here too.
Yeah. It's been longer than you think because it's hidden, but we went and had the diagnosis about 3 years ago. And then we got a lot of advice and predictions and what to expect, but still it's a daily process. And it wasn't so much the memory for Butch. He remembers so many people, he remembers everything. It's more the mechanics of it. And I've talked to a lot of his friends that, how did you figure this out? And when the weed eater didn't work, and when the pressure washer wasn't hooked up, or he couldn't keep the lawnmower running, and that was not like him, because he could fix anything. Anything I'd give him, he'd fix. And he built, and he worked with his hands all the time, and that was not working. The connection was not there.
Did that make you frustrated, Butch, at the time when it was harder to do things?
Yeah.
And I know you're kind of wondering what's different here. Is this how my aging years will go? I know. What was your profession again? Remind me. You.
Truck driver.
Oh, yay! And then you always you were very mechanical,
Yeah.
and so something that you were really good at is what you kind of noticed then right away. I think the other thing I really like that Margie said, it's hidden. because that made me think about people maybe who have a cancer diagnosis. And gosh, you tell people that. You maybe, create awareness via Facebook or even a Caring Bridge site or something.
Yes.
How do you do that when you find out your person's having memory loss?
Well, one thing the doctor had said, she said, you're in it and there's no cure. And that's the sad part for everybody in the world. It's not just here in Minnesota. It's not just the United States. It's everywhere. And there's no cure. And you have to take it day by day and do the best you can. And one thing Father Tony said was, just remember who he was. And that really has helped me.
And he still is. I mean, because that's what we have to find. Again, I really like a book by Jolene Brackey. I have a copy with me today, but it's about celebrating moments of joy, and it's about how to connect with the person very much that is there, and but they're fading maybe a bit, if you could say it that way. And I'm glad that Father Tony talked to you too.
Yes.
I think another part of this is finding that support within your community. You had said before friends helped you a lot.
Yes, friends, and some friends are not able to accept it, or they walk away. That's too hard for them. And other friends can just, well, how you doing, Butch? How you doing? And he just loves it. He just loves
Margie,
it.
that's so important. And Butch too. It's like,
Yeah.
because you're still Butch. That's what's important that we remember through all this. Now, the second part of our interview today, we're going to include family members, and we'll be back shortly to tell you more about becoming more aware of dementia and what dementia is, and then also about our special event.
I'm Rebecca Reynolds. I'm a friend of the Marshall Area Dementia Awareness Network. I want to give you a little bit of information about next week, Thursday, June 15th, we have the Walk for Memories from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Red Baron Arena. There's going to be booths and storytellers. We're going to be on the radio, and it's an opportunity for everybody to come and honor our dementia champions, our families, and learn more about dementia so that we can help families in our communities. We're here today with the Dahl family, who is our family of honor, and I want to introduce Dawn, Carrie, and Sarah and Margie. Welcome here today. They're going to help us with their story and tell us more about their experience and their journey of what has happened.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. We want to know what were early memory loss signs that you noticed?
I will take this. I have 5 children, and one of our children is a special needs daughter who can never be left alone. And we were not at the point in our life where we were ready to have a PCA or an alternative caregiver. So we alternated turns with grandparents and parents, taking turns with Isabel. And so having more time, seeing the grandparents, and time that things were getting forgotten or left, just kind of the
Neglect.
With your dad, when your dad was with
the neglect in the beginning, but not
When Dad had him.
in Dad's care. Things that I was noticing, I'd be like, "Where is Isabel?" And he went, "No." And then it became where it was a safety concern, and so we had to end that. And I was making notes and journaling many things that had happened in the time of the care, and then things that would be happening with my nephews. And so having documentation to present to my mom, just knowing that you can't just say something and not having document to follow, so that when we went to the doctor, we had incidences that we could bring up.
That's great, because it must have been so hard to say, well, what's different? And then to notice that he was changing.
Yeah.
I think that's a big point we want to make today too, how this journey is so unique to each person. And again, we mentioned before about getting to the doctor, getting a diagnosis, but there's so many things maybe that are fixable or you can rule out. But then from there, you guys progress to, you got more news.
And I think, like, at the beginning, Mom wanted to fix Dad. She took him to the chiropractor and acupuncture, and she made
Herbal remedies.
Yeah, he had no more pop. The poor man was cut off of, Copenhagen and
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola, which he'd lived on for most of his life, but he was on a real strict diet, and it took a long time to get to the point where she realized that, when we were sitting in Dr. Rath's office at the VA, when she said, it's not going to get any better. And Dad reached over and put his hand on Mom's leg and said, "It'll be okay, Margie. It'll be okay." And she, broke down crying. And that was, I think, when she finally realized that this was real, that this was, and it took us, a long time to get to that appointment, and to get to that place. And that was 3 years ago. And we're, still
And
doing
such
well.
a hidden disease, even though you noticed all that little changes, or you could see it happening before your eyes, more or less, but it's hidden. Again, back to that big word, dementia. It really stands for memory loss, and it could be of so many different kinds. And the big message is it's hidden. You're not going to see it. It's not like a broken arm, or you come up to somebody and say, how'd that surgery go for you? It isn't like that. It's not as easy to figure out, okay, I can fix that. This took the whole community, more or less, to come. You sisters, talk about that. You mentioned going to that next doctor then, maybe.
Well, it was little things like I noticed was locking the keys in the car, and then like driving in the ditch. Like he said, I don't know why I drove in the ditch. So then when I had the doctor's check, and she said, I would like to meet with the family and have them do a questionnaire. So she sent to them, and no one was to communicate. They just had to answer the best they could. And then she took that information, and she had analyzed everything to the point where she could support us and tell us what we had to do and where to start. And then at that time, she told me, she said, you have 3 lovely daughters that care a lot about their dad, and they want to help you, so be ready. And that's...
And so some of
So
that was...
now we have weekly phone calls. Even though we all live within an hour radius, we still don't see each other every day, but could call and check in. But we have weekly phone calls on Sunday evening where we check in with Mom and see what does she have planned for the week, how can we give her a break, and how can we help. So my mom is not at the point yet where she's ready to accept help. So we just know that she will be a better caregiver with more breaks given, or Dad will be in better care with the breaks that we have with him for time.
Yeah, that respite care really makes such a difference for people. I always say that in the United States, we have labor laws. And you're not allowed to work a job 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. There's laws against that, but then when it comes to caregivers, the expectation, even of yourself, is that you're going to do that 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. And it's really difficult. And so if there are people out here listening to this and watching this, I want to encourage you to seek that respite care, and B, I always have to plug for volunteerism. Around Lyon County, there's a lot of opportunity if you are the kind of person that loves to visit people and to help people. You could help people just like our family, our doll family here today. I want to ask, do you feel that Butch started to realize before everybody else did that things were changing for him?
Realizing, looking back, I didn't realize it at the time, but he wanted to retire. And I go, well, I think you could work one more year, And he said, no, I'm retiring, 65, I'm retiring. And then, because he could work till 66. And then, as the year progressed, and as I've talked to the coworkers and such, he was already struggling at work. And that's why he said, I'm retiring. It was challenging to remember numbers and codes. And he was a parts person for the truck and trailer, Olson and Johnson in Marshall. So he did a lot with the truckers and respected the truckers and wanted the correct parts that they needed. So I think it was getting stressful for him, but he didn't share that until after I realized,
And the doctor did share that it's typically 5 to 10 years before the diagnosis that they've even started the memory loss or a form of it.
Yeah. So next I want to ask, when you started to go and seek help from the doctors, do you feel that it was a straightforward process to get the diagnosis?
I felt like it was a longer process than you think. You're going to go to the doctor and mom's going to understand where we're coming from now, and it's going to be cut and dry, and we're going to be able to move forward. I think as like I just assumed that we would just get going on a path. And with the questionnaires that we all got, there was so much time for her to go through it, which is amazing that she took that time to go through it, because we had a plan and action better. There was more things to do, but it's not a cut and dry, you're going to leave the doctor's office knowing this is what it is.
And Dad skipped 2 of them. I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't want to go because he
Yeah.
knew that he couldn't take the test. He couldn't pass it, and
Like
so
a cognitive test.
yeah, he didn't want to go. He, and that's probably very common that somebody doesn't want somebody else to tell him. He was so afraid of losing his license. He was
Yes.
very afraid of losing his license, and he was very upset when he did.
And now that he has not had it for years, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he was just telling us a few minutes ago, Dad, you asked him, Dad, how do you feel about not being able to drive? Is that hard for you? And he said, nope, not at all. So that has changed for him too.
A complete change.
And-
Like it was.
And with the dementia, you don't realize it, but with the driving, it was his eyes. And that's why he drove in the ditch. And that made sense. And that's why when he was running the lawnmower, he was going all over the lawn. He couldn't see where he was mowing or not mowing, so he realized it was his eyes. And then when she analyzed us and came back to us and gave us what the diagnosis and such, and she says, I think Butch is at stage 5. And I go, oh, well, how many stages are there? 7. That was shocking to me that he was already at 5, and what we've been dealing with was this progression. So then I thought, oh my gosh, how much longer is this? That's a shocking thing to hear.
And it is stages that kind of happen, a regression that's going to happen, but you don't know how long each of those is going to last. So that is very challenging too, to know when you need to, maybe do things differently. Again, Margie mentioned his vision, and of course, if you had vision trouble, you would, go to your optician, go check out what's going on with your eyes. But I think another clue here is that I often think about how memory works. We don't know how our brain works on a good day. Let's just confess that we are not scientists, and I don't think the scientists know either. But there was something going on, a part of his brain that was affected with the vision, I believe, that you
Yes.
understood, that really kind of helped you understand. He can't respond the way he once did. Like, for me, one of the catchphrases that so many times people are doing at this point in time would be saying, don't you remember? Can't you do this? And it's like, they can't. That part of their brain doesn't work anymore.
Or for us, can you fix this? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
don't think so.
Now.
I think one of the best analogies that I have thought of in trying to explain to people, it's like you have a beautiful antique lamp in the corner of your house, and it's gorgeous, and you're never going to throw it away. But some days the lamp burns bright and it works great, and then other days the lamp, it's flashing and it sparks a little bit or what have you, and you can't explain, there's something with the wiring that isn't quite right with it, and so some days the lamp is going to burn really bright and it's going to go really well, and other days it's going to spark and it's going to flash off and on, and there's something to do with the wiring.
Oh, thanks, Rebecca. I like that too,
Yeah.
for the different kinds. In the news these days too, we've heard about like concussions for football players, for instance. That's another kind of brain memory loss, and people with Parkinson's can have a form of memory loss. I mean, from kind of a stroke. There's so many kinds that you don't even think about how it all is actually running from, the brain. That how do we keep our brains functioning the best they can, which is probably a whole nother topic that we could talk about. Can you prevent this? It's something that is just a possibility for any of us to get, no matter. The biggest one is when you get older, that it might come to you. But there's so many things that you can keep doing in your life to stay active, to eat better, sleep better, that we're still learning about.
And for Butch, a very important thing was he's always loved animals, and he loves dogs, and he has a German Shepherd that he just adores. And at the time of getting a new dog or puppy, he said, well, it scares me that am I going to live long enough to have this dog? And then it was very important to his pets. And when his knee hurt so bad, we decided to have knee surgery. And then following that, he still was having trouble walking the dog, so it was hip surgery. So with dementia, he went with hip surgery and knee surgery, which is another ball game with all the medication, all the things you have to do, and all the therapy and the PT. But his goal was, I can walk my dog. I can go down a mile and I can walk back.
That's a good example, Marge. He found something that was
Yeah.
going to give him some hope
Yeah.
to enjoy.
And his friends, he loves to visit with veterans. And she said, the best you can do is to socialize. Keep going as long as you can. Keep going.
Yeah.
So,
I want to ask now, thank you for that, Margie, and that socialization is so important for all of us. It's a huge part of keeping our health. It's a huge facet of our health too. I want to ask next, can you touch on how the disease has affected your family?
I think, we all had to come up with a new understanding of who Dad is now, I mean, we've known him as somebody that's Mr. Fix-It, we call him when you need a new door, when you need something that got sprung, you want it fixed.
He could install anything.
Yeah, that was a list of projects. It was always there, ready for him when he showed up. Dawn, you want to share a little bit more about what you...
For my family, we live on a farm, so every time he came, it was always something for Dad to fix and do. And the expectation of when Dad comes, we don't have that anymore. And I think that was the hardest thing for me to accept at first. But my husband, on top of that, my dad was always like the one he could call upon we put up a hoop barn, and like he could call upon my dad to come and finish anything. And he came in the house and he said, I miss your dad. And I said, Dad's still here. And he said, yeah, but I am not at the same stage as you are. It's putting the aspect of what your expectations are. So we don't have projects anymore when Dad comes. We just get to hang out. We get to visit. He gets to go to the kids' football games and soccer games, and he gets to watch them play catch outside. We don't have projects. We don't have anything that if he says, I want to try to do something, we'll let him do something. But we don't have any expectations for any list or anything to get done.
Just to enjoy the time together. And
Yeah.
fortunately, he's still recognizing everybody. And
Oh, yes.
It's awesome that he, you
That is the biggest
provided
blessing,
that.
is that he knows our kids, he knows us, he knows us by name, he knows everything that kind of passed that way.
He might not be able to find them. So as the years have progressed, the environment that you put him in, you have to always think twice. And the doctor was really straightforward with us in the beginning. I'm a family of 7, and the dynamics of being overstimulated can be very challenging at times. So she was really honest in the beginning and had said, you might not all be able to be together at one time. So we really evaluate the environment and think, is this going to be best? But who do we want? He never wants to miss a football game. He doesn't want to miss a baseball game. He doesn't want to miss a wrestling match. It might not be the best environment, and so we might just take a break out of the arena if it's loud and whistling, or the people, depending on. He might not always be able to find Alana in the water, or Tate or Levi on the fields,
Or the
or
dance.
any of the children on the dance. He might not be able to find them, but his presence is there, and the kids know that, I think, is
It's
important.
important for him to be there, I think, and
And-
the boys, they each chose the same football number, so that it was easier for him to find him on the field. He'd keep saying, look for 35, look for 35. But even that's gone down now, but I drag him around wherever he's willing to go, and he wants to go, and
Wants to go.
we still do fun things together. When I try to take him about once a month or every 6 weeks for a weekend to give Mom a break, and hopefully I can do that more now that I'll be working in the area more. And so, breaks is really important for both of them, because, we all, after 3 days solid taking care of Dad, it's stressful because you have to have your eyes on him all the time unless he's napping, or, because he likes to get busy and walk around and see stuff, so.
I like before this, our volunteer person here, Margie does so much, but you found a neat way to include him, didn't you? When you
Yes,
go to
yes.
Heritage Point?
Yes, I offered to volunteer exercise, matter of balance, which is extremely important to elderly people, to keep your balance, keep walking, keep moving. And I said, Butch, you can go along. And he goes, yeah, I like to do that. So he does. He doesn't do the shoulder rolls and stretch like I'm supposed to and go to the left, go to the right, but it's okay. We have a good time. He's having a good time.
And I love that you have something you can do together.
And the people are so great.
You
All the
see
residents are so
other
good.
people, again, back to socializing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And we went to soup and sermon together, and we did the bread, and we spread the garlic and the butter on the bread, and we baked the bread, and we went home, and he's, we're going to go again now, right? We're going to go again. I go, yeah, we're going again,
Yeah.
you know. So that was made him happy. So
Anything else for additional comments, or we'll come back and talk more about our event? Is there anything else from the family members? I really appreciate you sharing today.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people don't know what to say or don't know how to approach a family if they've maybe heard, and it's like the silent illness, right? And so what I think would be really helpful is for families to not just stay away, but to go up and say, how's it going? Is there anything I can do to help? How's your
even-
day today?
I like
You
that,
know?
but even more, give it open-ended, like tell me more about, getting more specific so that they can retrieve something that they can offer. Sometimes it's hard to find the words. I can't say how my day's going sometimes, but, just being able to have a, conversation, or what kind of pickup did you drive, or something more open-ended too
Oh,
helps.
sure. Yeah, like actually having a dialogue with them, yeah. I mean, even if it's, you see somebody in the grocery store, just 10 minutes talking to my mom, and if you can get away from her in 10 minutes, it'd be a miracle. But literally, I mean, that will give her a pickup to be able to have something else to think about and talk about for later on in the day. It's a little break for her. And we're so grateful for all the people in the community who have offered to watch Dad for, so she can go to Bible study, or so that she can go grocery shopping, or go and get some things that she needs to do on her personal time. Because those are really important things that we need and we appreciate. And, just being able to be somebody that answers the phone and is willing to talk and listen. And those are important things. This is an honor for our family to have, but it's not a congratulations, you have Alzheimer's. It's, hey, thank you for coming forward. Thank you for sharing your story, because we're doing this for awareness. We want other people to not sit there in shame. There's a shame factor that comes with this illness, where you think that, I don't want people to see us like this, or I don't want people to know.
Sarah.
Yeah. And there's no shame in telling the truth and saying, look, this is who we are, this is what's going on, and
To touch on this for a moment, it took my mom a very hard, long time to accept and to allow us to talk about it to other people. Luckily, the three of us are very forceful and kept in her face about it, and we aren't shy. But my mom has once said it, that your generation doesn't always allow you to talk about what's going on in your home. But reach out and help and talk and be open with it. And I think that is what has helped.
I can equate that with, we've talked about cancer before, just in the 60s, 70s. I mean, we didn't tell someone we had cancer, and now I think that is still here for this condition. It's harder to talk about it, but again.
but the facts are there. In the future, with our flyer, it says someone in the United States develops dementia
Every
65 seconds.
Yep.
So be aware. It's here, and it's not going away.
And another tap into that is a future event. I brought this book out before, Creating Moments of Joy. It's written by Jolene Brackey. I know it's helped a lot of people. She's coming to Marshall. We have a date set for October that
Okay.
we'll be announcing more about that. But she's someone who I think has found a way to put it in a positive reflection, that what can you still do? What can you enjoy the company of someone? Rebecca, do you have anything else?
I just want to thank you so much for your courage You know, it takes a lot of courage to get through memory loss and to get through it as a family. Sometimes it tears people apart, and people aren't willing to work together and talk it through. And sometimes there's loud conversations and frustrations and difficulty. But I want to thank you so much for having the courage to do this today, to speak, because you're going to be able to help so many people who are just beginning their journey that maybe don't have their courage, and they can find that courage from you. And so I want to thank you so much for coming and telling us your story. Your story will help numerous people in our community. I also want to thank Lyon County. I want to thank all of the grant work that is available, on all of the wonderful volunteers that take their time, like Jane Wyloggy, and all of the folks who are putting in time to help people. And I also want to let you know, again, next week, Thursday, June 15th, 4 to 7 p.m. at the Red Baron Arena and Expo. We're going to have our
Yeah, it's a big list of
It's a
things.
big event.
We'll have food out there.
Yep, there's food for
Music.
purchase. There's going to be music. We're going to be on the radio live. There's going to be booths with information and resources. There's going to be lots of volunteers who are going to be able to help you if you're just beginning your journey, in the middle, or if you've completed your journey. Please come and join us and help others who are starting their journey.
And get the
Lots of
memo.
giveaways.
You can wear
Yeah.
purple, not to overtalk you, but
Please.
some people got the memo today.
Carrie's got the shirt
Great.
on.
Yeah.
And
Wear something with purple. Purple is the color of Alzheimer's dementia, and so wear that color. Come out and support us. We would love to have you, and I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here and tell your story today.
Yeah, just remember, you can't do this alone. Like, that's the reason why we're here, and this is another stepping point for us to make it public and make it known, and we're gonna keep moving forward, and we'll keep loving Dad from here on out. But know that you can't do this alone. You have to ask for help. You have to seek that out, and whether it be family, friends, or resources.
Yeah,
And accept the help.
yeah, and I've had good help from the VA, excellent doctors, and Heidi at the courthouse has been of great help. But right now she has no volunteers. And then I said, well, Heidi, when I'm done with this, I will be one of your volunteers to help someone, because I've been through it and I know what it's like not to have anybody help me.
so we need people to walk alongside you on this journey.
And his veteran friends are so good. And with Memorial Day, it was so good to have the veteran friends. And that's very important to him. So
Margie is referring to Heidi Fear, who is at the Lyon County Courthouse. She's our Veteran Services Officer for Lyon County. If you would so love to volunteer, please contact her. She would love
very
to
good.
have you if you would be willing to help or visit with other veterans. That is a beautiful place to volunteer.
And again, we've invited a lot of vendors to come to the event next week, so come and see who else is out in the community that can offer help.
yeah, very good, very good.
Thank you.